Thanks, Jeffrey. All right, folks, we're going to make that nerve-wracking jump. We're going to test this out and make sure we can launch our screen and make sure we're sharing. Jeffrey, can you do me a favor? Can you tell me, are you able to see the Disability Network Eastern Michigan logo and title screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. And are we showing in the regular slideshow, or are we seeing all of my notes right now? All right, I think we're in good shape. So, folks, thanks for being here. Again, my name is Chip Werner. I am the Associate Director for the Thumb Region. Disability Network Eastern Michigan serves Huron, Lapeer, Macomb, Oakland, Sanilac, St. Clair, and Tuscola counties. You can find us online at www.dnemichigan.org. Brief information about Jeffrey and I, should you wish to reach out and contact us. My email is listed here on the screen. Jeffrey's is on the screen as well, and we'll be sure to drop it into the chat towards the end of our presentation today. The mission statement for Disability Network Eastern Michigan notes that we are committed to promoting inclusion for all by breaking down barriers and opening paths towards independence and personal choice through resources, advocacy, information, support, and education. The independent living philosophy notes that people with disabilities should have the same civil rights, options, and control over their choices and their own lives as do people without disabilities. And we're going to spend a couple of moments here to talk about independent living. In 1972, the first Center for Independent Living was founded in Berkeley, California by Ed Roberts and a group that he belonged to called the Rolling Quads. They were students at University of California, Berkeley. And as there were no accommodations for students with disabilities at that time, only in 1972, students with disabilities lived in the infirmary of the Student Health Services building. That was part of Cowell Hospital. Inspired by political activism in the 1960s, these students started to perceive themselves not as patients, but as an oppressed minority. They formed the first Center for Independent Living, which was essentially a group of people with disabilities serving people with disabilities. As the independent living movement moved on, federal legislation was introduced to ensure that people with disabilities were not excluded from programs or activities that received federal funding. In 1973, that act was passed, but it was not implemented. Judy Heumann and persons with disabilities organized sit-ins in federal offices across the country. And after 21 days of extreme hardship occupying a federal office, 150 people with disabilities were successful in getting those regulations to be implemented. Here at Disability Network Eastern Michigan, we're very excited in a little less than 2 weeks to be celebrating the 32nd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's going to take place on Tuesday, July 26th. In 1978, federal funding was appropriated for centers for independent living in 10 states. Today, there are more than 400 centers for independent living across the country, championing the independent living movement. Again, nonprofit agencies of people with disabilities, serving people with disabilities. People, I'm in a conference call right now. Good to see you, Pastor. You never know what you're going to experience. There are 15 centers for independent living in the state of Michigan. Disability Network Eastern Michigan proudly serves two of those centers for independent living, again with locations in Huron, Lapeer, Macomb, Oakland, St. Clair, and Sanilac counties. Our objectives today are really quite simple. We're going to discuss ways that we can become more accessible. We're going to show you what alt text means and why it's so critical in your imaging. We're going to discuss digital document accessibility, the importance of closed captioning, which we're so thankful is on this video conference today. We're going to break down confusion with acronyms. We're going to talk about communication considerations, look at a couple of universal icons that we can discuss, and last but certainly not least is disability word etiquette, and this is going to be a fantastic one. So let's make the jump here. I'm going to attempt to share a video, something that's always nerve-wracking. Jeffrey, if you can do me a favor, if the audio does not play on this, please let me know and we'll try again.
Mom, my shoelaces.
You can do it.
Please.
Okay. 2 bunny ears, loop around and pull.
Oh no. My apologies, folks. I hit the admit button for someone who was in the waiting room. We're going to rejoin this really quick.
Mom, my shoelaces.
You can do it.
Please.
Okay. 2 bunny ears, loop around and pull together. Got it?
I don't want to be here.
James, I want you to pick an artwork you like and tell me about it. Art is a wonderful thing and I want to enjoy it with you, okay?
Okay.
What do you see?
Come. Sit here.
Okay.
Before you towers a terrifying scene of war. Thousands of forces break the grassy ground in a cavalry charge. Soldiers sporting blood-red uniforms ride with valor in a fearless resolve to attack. Some blow military bugles, others raise their voice in a war cry. Mighty silver blades are exalted above their heads. Leading up front, a commander on a mighty white stallion. The beast's eyes were wide and ferocious, every muscle and vein pulsing through his skin. The commander rides the steed high, his face blazing with heroism, but still in his eyes a glimmer of fear. For at the front line, survival is not guaranteed.
I'm so proud of you.
Can you describe that one to us over there?
I'm going to stop our screen share here for a second. That video is one of my favorite videos. Those of us who use social media on a regular basis, if we insert images into our documents that we send, if we develop a website or a newsletter, we often search for the perfect image. Because how many times have we heard it said, a picture is worth 1,000 words? Ayana, I can see you on my screen there. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. Ayana, you're one of my favorite people right now. 9% of the state's population uses an assistive device to interpret anything you send them electronically. It reads that device for them. So if you work diligently to find the perfect image, whether it be an infographic for a report, a picture of something that's helping to tell your story, something that you're using for an event or a gathering or an outreach event that you have going on. That perfect image on a screen reader is going to say picture or image, and that's it. That's 9% of the state's population, and that number is growing every day. This is our population that may be blind or experience loss of vision. This is our population that unfortunately has a reading barrier. There are so many other considerations that are not for us to judge, that are not for us to question, they are for us to understand. 9%, and that number grows every day. If you use LinkedIn on a regular basis, the second you drop your picture into LinkedIn, alt text appears. And sadly, many of us just click cancel. And when you click cancel or ignore, 9%, as many as 9% in your audience will never know what image you were posting. At that moment, we fail to be accessible. So let's spend a couple of seconds. Let's talk about social media. Let's talk about digital documents that we can do in Word or Google Docs. I'm going to share my screen once again and click. I'm just so happy every time I see this guy because I am the proud father of a 6-year-old who understands the importance of inclusion and accessibility. And it just makes me so happy when I see this little guy. Alt text and click. There we go. If we start incorporating alt text into our images, into our documents, into our social media posts, we're going to increase our exposure to more than 9% of those Michigan residents. We want to use clear images rather than lengthy text. This will help us to achieve WCAG, soon to be 3.0, which is Website Content Accessibility Guidelines. Of the World Wide Web, it was determined in a survey last year that less than 20% of the world's websites are fully accessible. That means more than 80% of the World Wide Web, which we live within every day now, is non-accessible. I want you to consider using alt text for your websites, for your Word documents. When you're using it on Instagram, I'm disappointed to say that the only way you can input alt text on Instagram is through your mobile device. If you're putting an image up using your desktop device, you can go into the captions or the comments and type in photo ID and explain what it is that's in that image. Constant contact newsletters, please, please, please make sure you're putting your alt text in there. Facebook and LinkedIn, we're going to do a small demonstration with that in a moment. And then in PowerPoint as well. On this screen that you see right now, when you go into my, and I'm going to change my view here for a second. Maybe. My apologies. Actually, I'm not going to do that just yet. So I want to look at my social media post here. This is one of our posts that we put up in May on the Disability Network Eastern Michigan Facebook page. When we click on that image, I've got these 3 little dots over here in the upper right corner. As I click those, I can come down here to change alt text. Now this is why it's so important. And I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to do something a little different here for a moment. Bear with me. And I'm going to drop our Facebook page. It's always difficult when you do a live presentation. You never know what you're going to get. Let's have some fun. Click here, bear with, thank you, share. So here's the Disability Network Eastern Michigan Facebook page. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to grab one of our images. And let's just go down right here, our men's support group. If I click this image and I go over here and I hit this button and I change our alt text. Now, Instagram or Facebook will attempt to create alt text for you. I don't know what this alt text here on my screen reads. I want to control that message. I want the words to be exactly what I'm asking of them. So here we've typed in our actual alt text that we wish to use. If I go here to LinkedIn, wouldn't luck have it, it's the one day. And we're going to skip that. I'm so sorry, folks. My LinkedIn is not logging in right now. But in changing that alt text, and here we have, I click my buttons, I hit the change alt text, I can control the message. You can see this first post that I put up, which is talking about a very important day for us. It's talking about our upcoming ADA celebration. I have no information that was listed in that. Now I can control that message and make sure I'm guiding folks to the right direction. It's just a simple step that we can make to ensure that we are being accessible. And let's return to our presentation. Now, when we're creating digital documents, we want to make sure that we're always using alt text. When you place your photo into your document, you want to make sure that you're aligning it in line with the text. We want to use font size 14 or greater. We want to eliminate use of italics. We're going to use no more than 2 spaces, 2 tabs, or 2 returns when moving down the page. If we need to jump to a new page, we're going to use page breaks, or we're going to use continuous columns. And most importantly, while we check spelling, we're going to check accessibility. And I'm going to show you what that looks like on a screen. So here's a document that we created discussing ADA standards for digital meetings and programs. The screen should look rather familiar to you as you're developing your documents. If I click outline, this lets me know if I have too many spaces or too many returns or too many tabs. I would see that by having lots of buttons here on the side. But there's a hack that's worth noting, and we all love a good hack. If I click, let me go back here on the screen. If I were to come over here and click this file button, which we know too familiar on our documents. Oh my goodness, where did we go? Don't do that. Let's not jump ahead. If I come down to inspect document and click check accessibility, it's going to let me know if there are any errors in my document. Now, in this particular one, I got my green check mark, which states that there are no accessibility issues found. People with disabilities should not have difficulty reading this document. If there were recommendations that were necessary, it would appear here on your lower tab of your screen and walk you through the appropriate steps to make sure that your documents are accessible. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Let's think of how often we share a Word document. Now I'm taking steps to make sure that I'm being accessible, not compliant, accessible. I'm extending a hand to ensure that everyone assessing my documents can view the information as it was intended. I know many folks here on the call may not be the person who creates some of these documents, but I encourage you to go back into your organization and ask, what steps are we taking to make sure we're accessible? Are we hosting workshops for our staff to make sure we are always taking steps to provide accessible information? While I'm on this screen here, do I have any questions at the moment that somebody would like to ask? Let's keep rolling. Let's have some fun. Closed captions. If you are operating in a virtual environment, use closed captioning, use it immediately, use it always. You may note that sometimes if you speak too quickly, the closed captions do not articulate the words you're intending. Speak slowly. Make sure you're paying attention. Ensure that the words that you are intending are coming across on screen. So you're creating an equal environment or an equitable environment for your consumers. Jeffrey, let's talk about messaging acronyms.
So I want to take a moment to, as Chip mentioned, talk about messaging acronym. Some of you may have seen acronyms like this that commonly used in text messaging. I want to give you 30 seconds and in the chat box, type as many as you know. So we're getting a lot of the common ones. LOL, laugh out loud. The first on the left at the top is seriously. If you look at the bottom right, you see WTPA. That's where's the party at? While you were doing this, a lot of you were probably struggling. You probably felt a lot of anxiety just trying to decipher what these acronyms mean. And we get lost in translation down the way. I myself, like a lot of you on here, I'm a community health worker. I also do a lot in assistive technology, and there's a lot of jargons used. From the community health worker standpoint and healthcare, I want you now to type in the chat box all healthcare acronyms you can think of.
Jeffrey, as folks are typing those acronyms in, I was disappointed in the chat. No one listed the one acronym that's driving me bonkers in year 2022, because we see it everywhere. MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. That seems to be something that appears in my inbox on almost a daily basis now.
So I've seen CHW coming up a lot. I am seeing HIPAA come up a lot. And we really want to steer clear of acronyms whenever possible. People may have heard of HIPAA, but they may not know what it means. So if you just say HIPAA to someone, you don't know what their health literacy is. On top of that, even if they do know what it is, as we get older, or depending on what disability you have, if you have hearing loss or something dealing with intellectual, any of that, it takes us longer to intake and synthesize information. If you say the acronym, spell them out, actually say what they mean, it's helpful because now we can understand a little bit. Make sure you use simple language. Whenever you're giving a presentation or relaying healthcare information, you typically want to bring this down to a 5th grade level. So make sure you're using layman's language. One common misconception in all of this is people think dumb it down. You are not dumbing down information. You are simply rephrasing it into easier terms for people to intake, to better understand the message you're trying to relay. So if you're talking complex healthcare terms, please find a better way to relay such terms.
Hey, Jeffrey,
in a way
this is
where more
Chip.
people can relate.
Yeah, Jeffrey, this is Chip. Can I jump in for 1 second? You know, I have a health worker background. I spent many years working in orthopedics, and just recently had to go to the doctor for something, and it was a moment of anxiety. And I stress it was a moment of anxiety. And in that moment of anxiety, I forgot some of my own health history information. And quite often we find ourselves as community health workers in positions where that person who we're interacting with is experiencing that moment of anxiety, and they may happen to forget the most simple of things. Now infuse a series of acronyms that we take for granted because we use them on a daily basis. And now that person's trying to keep up. And they're concerned that they're going to be judged if they're not understanding what that acronym may imply or might mean. Jeffrey, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I had to jump in there with that own personal experience, because literally, as someone who spent a great deal of time in the health and medical field, I had forgotten some of the most basic information recently because the news I received was just a bit overwhelming.
And I think, Chip brought in a very important point. When you're relaying health information, especially if you're new to something, being able to intake medical terms or even simple facts that may be scary, your anxiety level goes up, your ability to try comprehending what goes on, that takes a while. Make sure you're connecting with the person. So one of the most important things when you're giving information, pay attention to your consumer's body language. Are they engaged with you? Or are they simply slouched in the chair looking around the room? Because if they're slouched in the chair, their eyes are not on you, but other places, it may be a sign that they've lost you or they've lost interest. Make sure that you speak slowly and pause between different sentences or ideas. I don't mean, let's speak slowly. Sometimes people talk fast. Slow down the way at which you're talking, but still talk at a comfortable speed. Again, this allows people to better intake information, especially for people that are hard of hearing. For language, someone may not speak English. They may have communication barriers due to various disabilities. And in this case, we need to make sure we're utilizing different modes of communication. When we're conveying healthcare information, it's complex, even when we break it down to its simplest form. And sometimes we can't even break down some healthcare terminology because it's uniformly used across other fields and there's no alternative. For that reason, we need, in addition to spoken language, sometimes you need pictures or charts. And we'll move on and I'll show you some examples of universal icons that people could relate to. In your chat box, I want you to type for healthcare icons what you think number 1 means. So that is at the upper left corner. We have hospital. This is the symbol that's uniformly, that's used mainly across several countries here in the US and all across the world. What do you think number 2 means? That's at the top right. It's cardiology. Again, we're immediately seeing a picture and we're being able to translate it quicker. What do you think number 3 at the bottom left corner means? And it's laboratory. And how about number 4? Number 4 is dentistry. And these are uniformal symbols that are used that people can immediately recognize. Back to what Chip told you earlier, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Here in these pictures, because they're universal, we can quickly relate to it and be able to better understand what you're saying. We'll move on to the next slide, and these are universal accessibility icons. What do you think at the upper left corner number 1 means? Many people call it handicap. We'll talk more about that in a minute. How about number 2? So number 2 is in the middle of the top. Number 2 means braille. How about number 3? Number 3 is for blind/accessibility or for vision loss. What do you think number 4 means? Four is closed caption. How about number 5? Five is sign language interpretation or ASL. We're gonna get a little more challenging. What do you think number 6 is? Number 6 is the universal icon for amplified phones. That's where a user can control the volume to make it louder or its amplified sound. So that means it's louder than a regular telephone. What do you think number 7 is? Any ideas? Number 7 is for hearing loss. It's also the universal sign for something known as telecoil, which is a program in hearing aid, as well as FM systems or loops. Does anyone know what number 8 is? Number 8 is audio description. And a great example of that is the video Chip played at the beginning. Pretty much what it is if someone has vision loss or is blind and they're at a museum or they're watching a video, they can't see what's going on. So this is another audio signal that they listen to that describes the scene or the picture of what's going on. Does anyone know what 9 is? You may have seen this a lot. So
Hey,
number
Louis, well
9,
done.
if you have, so number 9, if you have a smartphone or your computer and you go into setting, that's the symbol for accessibility. It's also the symbol that's commonly used on the web. A lot of times you see this icon, and if you click on it, you will be able to change different settings. Chip, do you want to show that on the website?
Yeah, I will in a minute. Actually, folks, when you get a chance to visit the Disability Network Eastern Michigan website, in the lower left corner of the screen, you'll see that image. And one of the great things about that image is that when you click that, it opens an accessibility tool that will allow you to make modifications to a website. In this particular case, the organization that we use for our website will make sure that any website that has that service available, about 45,000 across the globe, your accessibility standards will automatically relay to that page. I'm an individual who is colorblind. I believe that little circle that has dots in it that you all are playing a joke on me where you say there's a number inside there. There's no number inside there. I know it's one big joke placed on me. That option allows me to, that service allows me to click a button, and now I can ensure that that website will be modified so I can have an equitable view of the site. Now, the next screen we're going to go into, and I want to preface this for a second before Jeffrey moves on. the next screen is going to be a bit of a shock for some of us. Because as we were looking through the chat, many of the words that we saw appearing in the chat are words that we are moving away from. When you talk about a Center for Independent Living, all 400 of those CILs across the country have 5 core services that unite us: advocacy, information and referral, peer support, independent living skills training, and transition services. When we discuss peer support, we discuss that we're creating a safe environment where folks are able to share, we're able to grow. We all learn from our mistakes. I'm teaching my 6-year-old how to ride a bike. P.S. Don't teach a 6-year-old how to drive a go-kart before you teach them how to ride a bicycle. They don't want to ride a bicycle when they know how to race a go-kart. And I'm reminding my little guy, you're gonna make mistakes. You're going to fall down. That's a part of the process. As we point out some words here today, our hope is that you don't take this personally. Instead, you go, my gosh, here's an opportunity for me to change my language, to change the way I'm approaching certain situations, to acknowledge that unintentionally, some of the words that I've been using have perhaps transgressed upon others. And the goal of this is to be open-minded. Jeffrey, are you ready for this?
Yes.
Here we go. All right, Jeffrey, I will read the commonly, the former word, and I'm going to ask you to give the new word. So we're looking at our screen. On the left of our screen, we have the words that we are replacing. And on the right of our screen, the words we're going to replace them with. And the first word that we see on the left of our screen is disabled. Jeffrey, what should we replace that with?
The proper word to replace it with is disability. Before you move on, Chip, I just want to say the reason some of these have changed or changing is because there's cultural connotations behind them. There's historical incidences that happened. Some build derogatory terms. And so using it can be very offensive. We'll explain more in a little bit.
Jeffrey, the word handicapped. So no, you're good. Number 2, the word handicapped. What should we replace that with?
You should replace the word handicap with person with a disability. If you're referring to handicap parking, which is commonly labeled, please call that accessible parking.
Jeffrey, wheelchair bound.
Someone in a wheelchair, refer to them as a wheelchair user. Do not say wheelchair bound. Do not use the word crippled either.
Jeffrey, in 4 and 5, there's a commonly word used that still has some medical connotation, and I know you want to talk to that. Number 4, it states hearing impaired. What's our replacement?
You should be replacing that with hearing loss, deaf, or hard of hearing.
Fantastic. Number 5, Jeffrey.
Do you want to do 5 and then I'll explain the rest?
Yeah, that'd be great. Visually impaired.
The proper terminology for that is vision loss or blind. The problem with impaired when you have that word is it's implying that they can't do other things. Just because a person has a disability doesn't impair them from daily functions that they do, other daily functions you have to perform. So saying impaired is implying almost like they're not human, or it's kicking them down a notch. You may commonly hear, for example, on television, want to go to a commercial, closed captioning for the hearing impaired, it's provided to you by. Don't use it. Instead of saying impaired, replace it with the term loss. So hearing loss, vision loss. It's more inclusive and it doesn't take these people down a notch.
Jeffrey, number 6, the term midget.
So for that, you're either going to use the word dwarf, little people, or short stature. In the dwarf community, midget is referred to as the M word. It is a derogatory term with negative historical connotation behind it. So never say that.
Jeffrey, number 7, special or special needs.
The proper terminology for that is accommodation. When you're using the word special or special needs, it tends to put down the person or sometimes put them on the spot. It's not doing anything special for them. You're giving an accommodation so they can function like everybody else.
Jeffrey, I love when we talk about accommodations. I'm going to guess we've got almost 130 people on this conference right now. We've all probably stayed in a hotel. And when we check into that, when we make that reservation at the hotel asks us, do you have any accommodations? Would you like a high-level room? Would you like to be away from the elevator? Would you like extra pillows? They're accommodations. And we think, my gosh, this hotel I enjoy because they're trying to figure out what would be my ideal situation. We encourage you all, as you're creating your meeting invites, ask the simple questions. Do you have any accommodations for this that you'd like for this meeting? It's an opportunity to show that you are creating an equitable environment for everyone who's joining. Jeffrey, I have a question for you. Number 8 on our list, and I'm going to share the screen once again here. Someone just is an inspiration or courageous because they have a disability.
Please never say it. There is no term for this. What happens is if you ask almost anybody in the disability community, they have come across this people one or numerous times where they've come up to them and they've said, oh my God, you're such an inspiration just because of their disability. When this happens over and over, this is dehumanizing for a lot of people. So they want to be treated as an individual. So acknowledge the person for their accomplishment, for their individualism. Don't define them by their disability. Just because they have a disability that could be very painful or whatever, don't say you're so courageous. Leave those terms out, please.
Jeffrey, number 9, I'm only going to read one of those. The R word, I'm just not even going to read. Yet it's important that we have it on the screen for people to understand that it is occasionally still used, which is just unique. Brain damaged. What is an option that we can use for that? That's certainly far more inclusive.
As an alternative, please use person with a cognitive or developmental disability. By changing our language with more appropriate term, we are being more inclusive and welcoming to everybody. I do want to mention that, just as a disclaimer, some of these words, for example, like impaired, some people, because they grew up with it, they're still used to it and they still use hearing impaired. If you're not sure how they prefer their disability to be referred to, well, if you don't know what to refer to them as, ask. It never hurts to ask if you don't know. So that's really the key takeaway.
It's worth noting, folks, that these simple adjustments allow us to create a positive environment for everyone to learn, a positive environment for our consumers to take intake information, and an equitable environment. We're going to take a look briefly at a few slides here. I know there were a couple of questions that appeared in the chat. We're going to make sure that we keep track of everyone who had notes that came in here, and see if we can provide some additional resources for you all. Bear with me as I share my screen here. Our vision is that together, the work each one of us does helps towards the vision of being a community where those living with disabilities are empowered to pursue personal growth and choice through access to community resources and supportive services. Disability Network Eastern Michigan represents 2 of the 15 centers for independent living throughout the state. This is where our 4 offices are listed. I'll make sure that our contact information is again provided in the chat, but we want to invite you, you can always reach out to us if you need to be able to connect with one of the centers for independent living in your area. Information and referral is one of those 5 core services that I had mentioned. We're more than happy to connect you with resources in your immediate community to be able to serve your consumers and those who are transitioning in their families. And you can always learn more about us by visiting us online at www.dnemichigan.org. I'm going to scroll all the way back here and I'm going to revisit because we took on a lot of information today. Our objectives were to make sure that we were creating an understanding for alt text. I'm going to actually turn my screen off here. For those of you who have your camera turned on, I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We have a little better understanding right now of alt text and its importance. That makes me so happy. How many of you are going to reconsider your digital document accessibility and perhaps speak with a member in your office to ensure that we are working to include more digital document accessibility? Thumbs up. You're always welcome to contact me and we can chat about opportunities to work with your organization to ensure that you're taking steps towards being more accessible. How many of us, and I want to see lots of thumbs on this, are going to make sure that we're utilizing closed captioning moving forward? I love seeing this. This is making me happy. How many of us are going to reconsider the acronyms that we use when we're meeting with consumers and those who are transitioning? Oh, this is making me happy, folks. We're going to be more considerate with our communication. I let folks know all the time, communication is not simply a matter of me speaking something. It's a matter of me ensuring the words which I'm speaking are being interpreted by the right individual. Universal icons, we have a better understanding of them, but let's see this board light up. How many of us now are going to reconsider some of the words that we're using as it's related to disabilities? Fantastic. The word disability is an okay word to use. We encourage it, embrace it. It's okay to have a disability. It's okay to use that word. And most importantly, please know that we're always available to help in any way we can. I'm going to put our contact information on the screen once again. Bear with as I share our screen one more time. My name is Chip Werner. I am the Associate Director for our Thumb region, serving our 5 counties in Huron, Lapeer, Sanilac, St. Clair, and Tuscola. I do also serve our Oakland and Macomb County. My email is on the screen. It is cwerner, dnemichigan.org. Jeffrey, if you'd like to share your contact information with everybody.
Best way to reach me is through email, and that is jastin@dnemichigan.org. That's JASTREIN@dnemichigan.org.
Folks, it has been an absolute pleasure to share the last 52 minutes with you. We definitely hope that you took something away from this presentation. We're looking forward to connect with all of you. Montserrat placed the information on the chat. And I think we'll hand the screen back over to you at this time.
Thank you all so much for this informative presentation. CHWs, if you would like to receive a certificate and CU, I have placed a link in the chat box, but I will also follow up with an email, and this training will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. And I'll give you back the floor for any questions anyone may have. Thank you again.
Well done, folks. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We encourage you, reach out to us. We're here to help in any way we possibly can. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks. Take care.